Hey YouTube, back at the workbench with another teardown review. This is the Sinbo DZ-280 vacuum sealer, also known as a Snorkel vacuum sealer. You may find it on websites such as Sorbent Systems or Sealer Sales, and it's a different style of vacuum sealer than the standard food saver vacuum sealer. The idea is that this one allows the use of non-textured bags. So an example of a textured bag would be this aftermarket non-food saver branded one. It's got a texture as part of the processing for the plastic film on one of the sides, so that when the plastic film is collapsed under vacuum, there's still channels for gas and or liquid to flow. Contrast that to the more standard type of plastic bags that just have a flat film. These, when collapsed, don't allow gas to easily permeate through. So you can't use this style with a conventional food saver style sealer. You have to use other types like a chamber sealer, or in this case a snorkel sealer. As far as I can find, this is the only such unit available to the North American market. There are other models by this company. I believe there's one called the DZ-280, which has a chamber outside to accommodate liquids, so you can actually vacuum seal liquids with it. So it'd be great for sous vide. Unfortunately, it seems like it's only available in the 220 volt flavor for those of I guess consumers outside the North American market at 220/240 50 hertz, so the UK, Australia, and everywhere else in the world. Regardless, just doing a little teardown review. Going to start with the unboxing in a moment. I got mine from vivor.ca, which appears to be a Canadian website that ships out of Asia and have had some mixed reviews online, so buyer beware. I didn't have any negative experiences, but that's not going to be indicative of everyone. What I got was this extra sample bag of cheap plastic bags, a manual with some terrific English, English such as, oh, where's the table? Table here that explains the expiration date of different types of food, whether they're in vacuum packaging or not, at different temperatures. Foods such as fresh fork, beef, land. There's a different kind of beef that's not on land. Chicken cluck. Other meat. Sounds a little bit sketchy. Fresh fish, lobster. Lobster's a crustacean, it's not a fish. Ham sausage. Okay. Milk. You can vacuum seal milk. Egg. Bean. Just a single bean. Okay. And then a bunch of vegetables which don't have the same degree of English. Yeah, it's a pretty nondescript manual that basically does nothing for us other than give us entertainment and explain where the filter is, which we'll dig into when we actually start opening this up. So let's go do that now. Alright, so box is completely nondescript on the outside. There's literally no branding, no logos, no nothing. There is nothing else inside the box. Got some EVA foam, not EVA, polyethylene foam pads for the outside, somewhat dinged up from transit. A singular plastic bag, ironically perforated with holes to prevent choking, so you can't reuse this to vacuum seal anything. Just get rid of that garbage. And it appears that this thing has kind of gone a little explodey. Oh wow, this has gone a lot explodey. What happened here? Alright, so it looks like the pressure strip is a little deformed. Maybe we can rescue that. Not good sign right out of the box. Now, I only purchased this out of necessity. I use a old, like really old, food saver style vacuum sealer for saving portions of food from Costco, especially because you can get way in over your head at Costco. Interesting, there's some like fibers of some sort caught here. It looks like cardboard or something. Yeah, already not terrifically promising. Right, let's use the not crap tweezers. What is that? I'm gonna have to try and get this out. Alright, there we go. Okay, so what do we have here? The way this unit works is the sealing strip is here. You've got a pressure strip, which appears to be just some expanded foam rubber type material that just press fits in here. On the lid, you have a separate bar that extends out from another bar here. You press in these two locations and it interacts with the snorkel. Now this snorkel, you're supposed to slide this out from the videos that I've seen. You slip your bag in there, and because of its thin nature, the bag can seal around this snorkel. You would click these two locks on the sides in, apply vacuum, and then when it's ready to seal, you press down here, which triggers the sealing heat strip, and you manually set your seconds of heat power in here. So I guess you can only seal for 9 seconds, but I guess 9 seconds is way more than you would need for most bags. I'm gonna have to see if I can do something about this pressure strip, because as it stands, it's going to drive me nuts. Okay, either way, these click type mechanisms on the sides don't look particularly robust, and my assumption is that if they break, you have no means to actually replace them. There is a micro switch here, and it looks like it's directly connected to that micro switch. There's no mechanical element. There is a glass fiber tape on top of the heat strip, and I think that's about it. So let's see if we can't dive a little deeper here. It would appear that this top bar is press or snap fit, and I really cannot remove this, it seems, without potentially breaking it, so I'm gonna pass on that for now. Alright, let's look at the reverse of this unit. We have a power cord with a small compartment to coil it up. We have what looks like a transformer down here, the appliance plate that just describes the voltage, wattage, the maximum vacuum pressure, and I think that's about it. There's this little, interesting, there's these two little extrusions here in the plastic inside this cord compartment. It's almost like they didn't think about where they were going to mount things, and they had to add these two little bits of plastic so that screws could tap into the plastic housing after the fact. So it doesn't seem like it's a terrifically well thought out design, but let's dive a little deeper. My assumption is that these screws are associated with something else inside, so So we're going to start with these screws on the perimeter. I haven't even turned this thing on yet, and I'm taking it apart. Channeling my inner EEV blog. Alright, so can I just pop this open? Seems like it. No, I think I have to take these other screws out. These are different screws. Oh yeah, here we go. Now, my hope is that the spring-loaded mechanism inside won't just go bang and explode out all over the place. But we will see. Oh, interesting. Is that the spring mechanism? Okay. Oh, that's interesting. One of the two extrusions is actually the vacuum exhaust. So, that's interesting. Alright, the other thing to wrangle with is the cord. There's no way to deal with the cord other than just feeding it through. So what do we have on the inside? Let's bring the camera in a little closer. Alright, so now we're into the guts of this thing. Here's the snorkel itself and the little carriage it seems to roll on. The spring appears to be in behind that pulls it snapped shut in the rearward position. We've got the micro switch, and we've got the two mechanisms here for retaining the hinging lid shut. Now, it's weird. This is one color, this is another. Oh, you can't see it on the camera. Yeah, okay. So, this plastic that retains this spring is a different color than this plastic that retains this spring, for no other reason that I can see other than they just had spare plastic laying around. Regardless of that, following the wiring around, we've got the input AC lead with live and neutral going to what appears to be a protection fuse. So at the very least we have a protection fuse. This wire does not feel particularly robust. Alright, so what do we got? We have line voltage in on this brown lead, which comes out on this red lead, going into this board, back out on the yellow lead, and into the transformer. Curiously enough, they could have put this fuse on the outside, but it's a cost-saving measure, I guess. So if the fuse blows, you've got to open this whole thing up. What do we have on the board here? We've got probably a one-off custom micro, not custom, but one-off controller of some sort. The markings on the chip are ground off. We've got a couple cheap electrolytics, no-name branded, a no-name branded relay, a couple passives, a couple actives, a buzzer. So these passives are all 1K resistors. They're probably pull-up or pull-downs for the various micro switches on board. Yeah, so we've got the one micro switch to sense the snorkel being in the forward position, so when this switch is depressed, it would inhibit the heat sealing function. You've got another switch here which enables the whole operation. So basically, if you depress this switch without this being forward, the heat sealing turns on immediately. Interesting. We've got a couple posts here for wire management, and they just melt the plastic over. So, okay, they saved a bit of cost there. We've got what appears to actually be almost a silicone wire, but it's not really, for one side of the heat strip. The other side of the heat strip goes to the transformer directly. So that's interesting. So this relay is just going to directly connect the transformer other lead to here. I'm actually thinking that this strip is running on AC at a reduced voltage and nothing more. We do have what appears to be a small silicone rubber pad hot glued in place to a thermistor of some flavor to act as a temperature protection device, though it doesn't have particularly good thermal coupling to the transformer. And the other thing that's worrying is if this thermistor is designed to shut the unit off if this transformer is too hot, and the transformer gets too hot, it melts the hot melt holding the thermistor onto the transformer, preventing this from even working. Had they have used Silastic, then it would have been at least more secure, but this is just hot melt, so a little bit of heat from the transformer might make this fall off, and we would only have to hope that the single wire twist tie that they didn't even bother really twisting, they just folded over, holds everything in place. So yeah, they didn't even bother to clip off this lead. I'm maybe gonna clip that off now because just having that flying around on the inside of the case is a little sketchy. Okay, carrying on to the other side, we've got a couple leads here, 4 wires going to this side of the arrangement. It looks like on this board we've got a bridge rectifier. I can actually see 2 sine wave and a minus plus symbol here, so we've got full wave rectification in that one chip with a little bit of debris or something. Interesting. Smoothing capacitor, a smaller bypass capacitor, what looks to be a standard switch mode chip. It's an LM2596S. So this is going to be a little switch mode buck converter. You've got ground and power for the motor on the vacuum pump. The vacuum pump does have a small ceramic bypass capacitor strapped to the back, but they don't have a bypass capacitor between the case of the motor and the positive and the case and the ground. They only have it between the 2 leads, so there is another source for noise. They also have 2 leads here from the power supply. So it appears that they bring in AC power here to the fuse, goes through the transformer, AC power jumps through this whole rat's nest to that's all sorts of weird. AC power goes through this micro switch, like low voltage AC power goes through the micro switch, and depending on which side, normally open or normally closed, different parts of this circuit gets energized. In forward position, it would energize this side. It appears it energizes this side, which feeds power to the step down, probably step down regulator, to power the vacuum pump. Once this is released in the back position, it looks like power goes through this micro switch into the board, through the relay, and then back out. This is a... oh wait, no, this goes to the coil of the relay? I'd have to disassemble this board and it's all sorts of sketch. Other than that, we've got the multi-digit counter. I'm going to just put this on this side of the screw post. Yeah. It's an interesting design. It's definitely got its weak points. I mean, electrical noise probably doesn't matter too much, so they saved a couple cents on bypass caps there. It's a single layer, no solder mask board. Definitely built to a budget. Only other thing I can think of for this is the fact that one could pretty easily modify this to accept liquids. All you would have to do is just add something in this rubber hose, put 2 holes here, get some vacuum ports, and just have a mason jar or something hanging off the back of this unit that would allow you to collect liquids so that you could sous vide seal your meats and other things. Then you'd have to also clean this snorkel as well, though, and that's probably a little bit more difficult. Looking at the lid for a moment here, it's interesting that this lid has a spring which appears to hold this switch in place. I guess the assumption is if you attempt to jam something else into this switch, instead of bottoming out and damaging the switch, it just compresses the spring. Let's put it this way so we can see both sides at the same time. Yeah, if you're a consumer that's just curious and you poke this micro switch, it pushes this switch up and compresses this spring. So I guess they had instances where users broke the micro switch by just jamming something in there for some reason. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, we got this little plastic cover here, which appears to go to this filter that they were talking about that you're supposed to clean. Oh yeah, so we got a butyl rubber cap, and we have what looks to be just a polyethylene mesh filter, not unlike an aquarium sponge filter, and that just sits in there. Interesting. So you just have to tuck this deep enough that it intercepts crap before it gets to the vacuum pump. It's not a bad design, if only they just built it with a little bit more quality. Like the mechanism itself doesn't seem that bad. It's just this whole mechanism slams backward with all this force. I don't see any sort of pad here to absorb the impact. Like, let's slide this into the forward position. Yeah, I don't see any sort of pad here to absorb impacts. When this goes flying back, it goes flying back. Plus, it doesn't stay exactly oriented straight. It does have some flexibility, range of motion. But yeah, other than that, the insides are relatively self-documenting. The heat strip does not look like it's easily replaceable. We'll have to take a look on the opposite side once I put this back together, whether you can undo some screws and find a replacement heat sealing element. And then the question is, what's the resistance on this element? So we're going to measure that in a second. Well, let's measure it now, because I'm already in here. And hopefully with this whole unit powered off, there's no other interactions here. It's a 2.0. I guess I'm accidentally charging up a capacitor here. probably about 2 ohms. We'll have to unscrew it. I see some screws here, so we might be able to remove this element. Let me start putting this back together, and we'll take a look from the other side. I think I have this back together for the most part. Let's peer behind the curtain. It does not appear that there's any sort of spring tensioning mechanism. So if you were to replace this element, you'd have to get one of exact length. Usually impulse sealers have a spring tensioning mechanism. Oh wait, no, there is a spring tensioning mechanism. It's those clips. Alright, let's see what the resistance, the true resistance on this element is. 2 ohms. Oh, resistance is still changing. It's not warming up, but I guess the temperature coefficient is enough that it actually does change. Okay. Well, I might not be able to get an accurate room temperature resistance reading on it. Now I hope I can get this screw back in place without having to open up the unit from behind again. Alright, that's torqued enough. Alright, so the whole reason why I dove down this rabbit hole is due to COVID, I really am not going to be playing Airsoft for a long time, and I've got bio BBs which are going to slowly absorb moisture and I guess become more brittle, and there's a higher chance that they shatter inside the hop-up, especially if I'm running an LMG. So I want to reseal these, and I decided why not see if I can find a unit that can reseal this style bag. Unfortunately, this is already open pretty significantly, and all I have are a Ziploc bag full of things here. Not to mention that the nature of the sealing mechanism means I'm not going to be able to seal this zip. So I was about to pour all the BBs into this Mylar bag when I realized I already have a Mylar bag. It's already got a gusset on the bottom so it stands up on its own. Why bother reinventing the wheel? Just cut the top off to make it flat, and there we go. And for all you ASMR types, here you go. Sound of airsoft. And let's not forget our desiccant, because these BBs are technically PLA, just like 3D printer filament. Alright, let's see how this thing actually works. And hopefully 5 seconds is the right seal time. Oh, turn that off first. Get that desiccant buried in there. Alright, let's flatten that out. Lock those in place. Actually, you know what, let's even this packaging out a little more. Alright, let's vacuum seal this thing 3rd time's the charm. It's not the greatest vacuum pressure on the seal, but if you press down, it appears to improve the vacuum seal quite a bit. I think this strip needs to really be centered. Yeah, alright, so if you hold down in the middle, you do get some pretty good vacuum pressure, and then I guess let's try and seal. Oh, I see air getting back in here. That's not so good. Well, that's not so good. There's a bit of a crease or a wrinkle here where the snorkel sits. I don't know if that's just because I had a crease in the bag, but maybe let's try resealing this over the existing strip. It is vacuum sealed, it's just not the strongest vacuum seal I've ever had. So a bit of a mixed blessing, I suppose. Let's apply some more pressure. Double seal. It is holding its vacuum, but unfortunately, I guess the nature of the design, when you release the snorkel, some air does rush in before the top plate gets a chance to squish down. My only hope is that the seal is actually good enough. Alright, so conclusions at the end. This is the only style snorkel vacuum sealer that you can get for about $100. It means you can seal things in Mylar bags that you wouldn't otherwise be able to with food saver style sealers. The channel style sealers that you might also see them referred to as online. While you can still use these style bags with the snorkel, you actually seem to get a better vacuum seal when you use the channel style sealer with the channel style bags, but there's nothing preventing you from using it here. However, you won't be able to use Mylar style bags on a channel style sealer because it crimps the bag shut and prevents the air from actually leaving. Another advantage is that you can configure the sealing time up to 9 seconds, which seems plenty, and that does allow you to seal heavier style bags, which again a food saver style channel vacuum sealer isn't really designed to do. So I think that's it. I might try and vacuum seal one more thing because I've got them sitting around. So one last vacuum seal and that'll be it for the video. If you liked, subscribe, comment, praise the algorithm. So the other thing I'm going to attempt sealing are some respirator cartridges. When I got these, the shipment actually seemed fine, and then I opened the outer pack and the inner pack for these cartridges was a little compromised. So if these are exposed to air, you'll slowly lose shelf life on them, so I wanted to seal them up. I attempted the ye old curling iron, hair straightening iron sealing method. It was garbage. So let's attempt it with this and see how well it does. Maybe cut it to about there. Get a straight edge handy first. Yeah, it should do the trick. Ah, that's gonna bug me. Alright, let's attempt to seal this. Snorkel extend. Flip the bag over and smooth it out best I can. Okay, let's turn the vacuum on. Does seem to give a pretty good seal. That's actually not bad. Once you get your technique down, it's not a bad way to do it. Let's put one more seal a little. I might have to go further out from the edge actually. Yeah, that's not bad at all. We'll see if this holds a vacuum, but it seems to work pretty well. One other side note is that this is a consumer grade unit, so presumably the duty cycle on that transformer for doing the heat sealing, it will eventually warm up, and that's why they attempted to put thermal protection in, but they did it with hot glue to hold the thermistor in place, so intrinsically, if it's going to fail in a dangerous manner, and you're going to have that false sense of protection over it. We'll see. Other than that, I think that's about it. If you like, subscribe, comment, blah blah blah, praise the algorithm. Peace out.